This is Ghostwire Tokyo. We're here on Xbox Series S. Be sure to like the video. Subscribing is great as well. So what are we getting here on the Series S? Well, we're actually locked to just two game modes for this particular offering. So we've got a quality mode and we've got a performance mode that is present within the game. There's also a photo mode if you want to take cool photos and stuff like that with a bunch of different options if that's your sort of thing. Totally up to you. Selfie mode too. Anyways, let's jump into our options. There's a filter mode I wanted to mention as well. If you want to do monochrome, sepia, just change it up a little bit. And then there's control options, vibration, UI settings. But yeah, graphics. So there's also HDR support. There's spatial sound, Dolby Atmos support. Your typical things, VRR, so variable refresh rate. But yeah, on this version of the game, we only get quality mode and performance mode. So quality mode seems to be running at 1440, 30 FPS, where performance seems to drop down to 1080p at 60 FPS. So those are your options. Oh, and there's film grain and motion blur and stuff like that as well. That is present within the game. So let's turn on performance mode, where you definitely notice a bit of a dip in regards to like the visual quality of the game. It gets a lot murkier, like quite a bit. So there might be some deeper resolution scaling at play. But yeah, that's kind of what you get for options, and it's very blurry. So this is very likely sub 1080p. Just, again, like I don't know how well it shows up for you guys viewing it, but on the TV, like this is, it is a substantial change. And obviously we lose the ray tracing options, and yeah, so like if you're on the Series X, you get like 6 different modes, some with like uncapped frame rates, if that makes sense, like up to 120 and stuff like that. So like it is a big difference dropping down to Series S, but at the same time, I am quite happy that we have a performance mode that provides 60 FPS. I'm happy that we have a quality mode that actually does look quite a bit better, but I think, again, some scaling stuff, and I think you're also going to very likely notice performance issues as well within this one on the Series S. If things get really crazy, combination of rain, particle effects, and other stuff going on, you're going to probably notice little dips and dodges in regards to the frame rate, but yeah, it's not a terrible way to play it. I mean, this is something that is kind of like demanding, sort of, no matter how you go at it, if that makes sense. Like on the PS5 when it first released, there were like performance problems. Series X, definitely has some scenes where it's like a bit more demanding as well. So I would say the Series S is actually doing pretty well with this one, all things considered. I mean, it would have been nice to have some of those high frame rate modes, and I did, unless they show up later or something like that at launch, I don't know. I checked having all the settings on for 4K 120. I didn't get any additional options, so I believe it is just locked to these two, as far as I am aware from my thorough checking. I tried my best on that to make sure everything is good and accurate and good to go. So moving on past that, if you are not familiar with Ghostwire Tokyo, it is a game that is kind of it's an open world environment. It's a first-person shooter. It's a finger blaster game. Pew pew. It's really quite neat because it's an experience where you are exploring like this actually like really large world. So everywhere you see here, sorry, it's got to show up all this stuff. So all the like the roads and streets you see, like this is all actually like part of the map. If you go out here, this isn't part of it, but everywhere you see kind of like roads and stuff are actually part of the map. It's like a several hour plus main story to do. Then there's lots of like side missions and side activities, and like and all the side missions actually do have a level of like depth to them, a level of like, certain quality in regards to like the characters and the things going on. I really quite liked this game. I thought it was a lot of fun. It's a nice twist on like a first-person shooter. I like the narrative design of this one in regards to like, kind of what your character's doing. Like it is a, there's a big area that's been impacted by this certain thing. So let's start from the beginning. You're a guy, you're racing to see a family member. something's wrong. You're trying to get to the hospital, and all of a sudden you sort of like wipe out. There's this weird black mist on your face. There's a voice in your head. Other people are scared of you. Then all of a sudden everybody vanishes into like, you know, just their clothes are like left behind, and it's this like really creepy kind of vibe where you're like, what's happening? What's going on? And yeah, from there you kind of like figure out there's been this really crazy thing that's going on, and there's this bad guy, and you're trying to do right by your family member, and it's quite an intriguing game. And why I kind of bring it up in the sense of like it's not like the end of the world, but it's like, you know, there is a good area impacted. It's kind of like I love how this one is sort of like a self-contained narrative with a key focus. It doesn't feel like it's trying to do some crazy over-the-top scenario. Like, it's a character who has, you know, motivations for himself. It's a character with a bit of a split, you know, not personality, but there's, you know, there's a second voice in there that you're kind of like having to contend with and deal with. It's a psychological thriller to a degree, as the mystery is kind of there as to like what's happening. You have to do some like chase down stuff into some really psychedelic areas. I quite like this one. I enjoyed it when I covered it on the PS5. It's been nice kind of revisiting it here on, you know, first the Series X, and then obviously here with the Series S. So it is a game that, like, I have, you know, kind of thoroughly enjoyed and had fun with. I will say, though, the vibrations definitely better on the PS5 side of things for the controller. Like, it's not bad, but it's like, you know, it was definitely, you feel a little bit better on that one. That's for sure. This is one of those times where I'm like, yeah, that is quite a difference. So it's an intriguing game. Like, you go about exploring, blasting things, seeing the sights. Like, it's a really beautifully detailed environment, and you're probably noticing, yeah, there's definitely performance issues, and like obviously VR helps a little bit, but I think you're gonna feel that in this game. The reflections and stuff in this are really nice though. But that's what I'm saying, is like it's actually like a fairly detailed city that you get to like explore, and there's some buildings you go into and different places you see, and it's really interesting. I like this one quite a bit. I think it offers a lot to explore, a lot to do. That, like I said, that main narrative was pretty chunky. Then there's extra stuff. There's also this like sort of spider's web kind of thing that's been included. So you get like, it's like a gauntlet battle, and it's also some new in-world things that have been added too as part of that. So I mean, I guess if you're revisiting it on the platform for whatever reason, you're gonna have some extra content to do. I mean, I guess you'll have to redo the game, but you get what I mean. There's new stuff to see if you're coming back to it, essentially. But yeah, it's to me, this is a very kind of fun, interesting sort of game. I like that you have this like power scaling where you are becoming, you know, kind of, you actually feel like you are becoming stronger as the game goes on. You know, as you're exploring places, as you're getting new abilities, as you're seeing new things, your character is constantly like improving, and you're able to battle more things. I love the really messed up like enemies. I love the different challenge of things. I didn't find it to be, you know, too hardcore, if that makes sense. There is a, you know, bit of challenge, and it does, basically the more abilities you get, the cooler you feel, if that makes sense. Like you really do get to use some cool stuff, and it's just like magic casting with your hands. And I really don't feel like there's a whole lot of games out there that are quite like this in regards to their, like, you know, style of gameplay. Again, with the whole finger blasting thing, I think that's actually like a pretty accurate representation of like the shooting that I'm doing and stuff like that. But yeah, I think another thing you can really tell is like obviously performance wise, it's like, but I kind of expected it coming from, you know, what I saw when it released. It's almost like, you know, like it runs and stuff like that, but it almost feels like it's more for like a next gen, which is not ideal, right? Like, obviously you would want something running well, but I think the 60 FPS is kind of the way to go personally, because it is like quote unquote a shooter game. But, you know, quality mode is also an option there if you want something that is... I mean, even quality mode has those issues, but, you know, it is a little bit more... Like, the target's not as high, so you don't notice as much of a crazy drop in fluidity, if that comes across well. I do almost kind of wish they would have had more wild modes, but I guess maybe they didn't want to dip the resolution too much, because this mode, like, when you can kind of tell, like, the resolution isn't, like, fully hitting, it does get really quite blurry. Like, as I do say, I do think this one is actually quite pushing the Series S. Like, I do think it actually looks pretty good on the Series S, all things considered. I just obviously wish the performance was really, you know, hitting at that same mark too, right? That's kind of the big thing, is getting both of those. So we'll have to see also if maybe there's some future updates that take it a little bit further. I'm not really, you know, I hope I'm providing adequate details on this version, right? And I'm making the fair comparison to other console platforms where I'm like, yeah, you know, even there it has problems. But you're seeing right here where it's like just chugging, and it's like, that's not ideal. So, like I said, it's a game where you are, you know, trying to figure out what's happened. You do some detective type stuff. You fight all these weird creatures, monsters, and ghost-like things. You follow shadows of what's happened. It's a pretty, you know, decently epic story. You gain abilities and skills that will allow you to more easily compete and fight against the, you know, the creatures and stuff like that are present. And then you get, you know, more damage you can do. There's like extra abilities so you can see things better. Holding more consumables. Having a better spectral vision. You know, being able to fly better. Dodging stuff. Health restore. You know, there's just like, there are a range of abilities that are present within this one that you kind of like, you know, kind of work towards, and that allow you to become, you know, a little bit deadlier to the creatures that are all around. And I love like the visuals of this game. Like, it's such a neat looking environment that you're visiting. Like, obviously they're trying to recreate like a city, right? Like a real city. But just like the art direction mixed with gameplay gives off a sort of like, hey, this is, you know, this is a real place, but it also has these magical fantasy elements, like the creepy fog, the reflections of the world. It's a neat sort of place, and I like the mystery of it. I like the discovery of it. I liked the way that, you know, things plot-wise were unveiled to you. I liked the surprises along the way, and it was a really enjoyable, different, weird sort of game. Like, it really did feel like something unique, if that makes sense. Like, I really liked it, because I enjoy shooter games, and I enjoy different types of shooter games, but I like magic casting's kind of fun, so you just get like this cool dance of like particle effects and abilities and, you know, things like that, which are really, really quite cool. The paper hat. Oh, that kills me. Sorry, that's actually really, really funny. I thought I had these like hand... Oh, we've got some suits? Oh, wow, okay. That's actually really, really funny. Oh, wow, that's really, really good. As I get completely, the feudal princess. Yes. Oh, sorry, I'm so sidetracked by that. Anyways, yeah, you just get to explore like a place that actually feels like a real area, but they've done all these cool things with like the lighting and the, you know, kind of the vibrancy of the world. It really does feel like an actual real city with a good amount of depth to it, where like you can explore and find some hidden secrets. Because like I said, it's an open world that seems to really chug on this platform, but you know, it is a place that's like filled with like little side activities or little secrets or little things you might find, and You know, I quite like that. I think they did, you know, a good job on this game. I find it to be intriguing. It's very interesting to finger blast at the young schoolgirl kind of ghosts. A little awkward, but you know, it's how it works. You know, you gotta just finger blast them good. What can I say? Yeah, but you know, you see all the magical effects going on. Really, really quite cool. Obviously, the performance not the best, but decently looking game, I gotta say. Okay, let's do the water. Or no, that's the fire. Should use a little bit of wetness. Usually that's a bit better. Gets the ladies. Yeah, so you get the different elemental abilities, and then obviously, like, you continue to improve your skills. And by the end of this, you really do feel like a champ as you're going by, like, area to area, kind of taking out the foes that are present. Because there's a lot of, like, cleansing areas, and they do actually change, like, your mission goals quite a bit, too, in regards to, like, what your actual, like, you know, what you're doing in levels, what you're trying to find. Like, everything actually, narrative-wise, feels really good and tight and well set up. And I think that is excellent because, like, fire rate. Increase the number of fire shots. Okay. Because that's, you know, that's a big part of it, is just, like, going along, doing the missions, engaging with the narrative, engaging with the characters that are present, finding out, like, what exactly is going on, understanding the abilities you have, understanding the enemies you got to face, and it's just, like, to me, it was a fun game. You know, needless to say, it's fun. But if you can get past the performance issues, obviously, here on, like, the Series S, I think you can have an enjoyable time. If you can't, I totally get it too, because it's just like, you know, I'm just trying to give a fair note of this one, because I mean, you can literally see what's going on here. But yeah, I do hope that they provide some further updates. They've had lots of time to optimize it too, right? Like, yeah, okay, let's do the elevator. 8th floor. This is when stuff's gonna get real, guys. Well, I did turn off the music just in case there's any issues, but the music's actually really lovely too. And the ambience, you get like the rain, the lighting, the reflections, and all that stuff. It's a really, really good time. Oh, the fat guys take so much more damage. Why is he just standing there taking it? Usually he comes right after me. But I hope this kind of like looks cool, at least to you, like with me sitting here going like blasting off these abilities, because I think this like part of it is really interesting to me, just like unleashing this like whirlwind of attacks, especially as you become more powerful, and then these like basic enemies are just kind of like, you know, little side things that you like monster through and you rip their cores out like instantly and stuff. Oh yeah, the power trip you get as time goes on in this one is just fantastic. You know, I think they really quite nailed that aspect of it. But yeah, it's such a cool city, because you can like literally go and you can explore these places and find these secret hidden areas and go off the path and battle different enemies and stuff like that. Like, there really is a good amount of content in this game. Like, it does actually feel like a pretty healthy, expansive shooter. And I think that, you know, is an important part of the experience, if you actually feel like you're getting your full value out of it, right? Like, you really do get to visit these places, see these things, do these battles, take on these creatures, you know, these phantom monsters, and there might be the odd big foe kind of thing every here or there, and you know, it's just neat how everything kind of like works itself out. I just remember covering this when it first released, and like really, I think it was down to the wire, the Tokyo Ghostwire, to actually get it all finished back then. And yeah, now it's nice to kind of like sort of almost casually just take in this experience and, you know, have fun with it and kind of showcase it again and you know, just present it, because it's a neat game to me, for sure. And I think that's the biggest thing to take away from it, is it's a very distinct experience. It is pushing the Series S quite a bit, and I do wish it was a bit more performant, obviously, because, like, you know, it's yeah, I mean, we want smooth running games. The Series S isn't like a super powerful console for sure, but like, you know, a lot of the time it can punch above its weight. And I think we could, hopefully with some updates, get a little bit more, performing out of this one.